And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Who's Views and another headlines. Hope you are well. Have you heard? Yes, indeed. Celestial Toymaker animation. Have they come to the defense of this? We will be talking about that later in the show. We've got a little bit of fun for you. And also the main headline this evening for you is the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. It's keeping up with the times. Joining me with their views, of course, as ever, we've got Third Doctor Ian and we've got Paul. Hello, both. How are you?
Hello, they're not bad. How are you?
Oh, smashing. Looking forward to this show. If we've got any Doctor Who Appreciation Society members in the chat with us tonight, don't forget that we do have Mr. Tony Jordan joining us very, very shortly. So if you've got any questions about our main headline today, please put your questions into the chat now. Hello to everybody that is watching us as well. It is lovely to see you all. I know some of you have been there for quite a while watching us all, so hiya. We've got Doug's here to say hello to us. Hello, Doug. We've got Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is there as well. And we've got Garbage and Kirsty in there as well. Thank you very much to Garbage and Kirsty, as usual, for looking after everyone. And Tony's in there too. So nice to see you all. And we've got Lex. Lex is with us as well. He's already started about the animations. They could motion capture technology like they did with Lord of the Rings for Lost Doctor Who episodes. They could use David Bradley, the first Doctor, for motion capture. Ooh, controversial stuff. Keep all
that do you think they have?
Keep all that coming because we're going to be coming up to the animations a little bit later in the show. But we're going to start with the news of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, which is coming up to its 50 years, its golden anniversary in a couple of years, which makes me feel instantly ancient. I don't know about you two.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Crikey, absolutely. But Doctor Who Appreciation Society, yes, they are moving with the times because a few days ago they issued this statement onto their social media. This is a society announcement. We have recently completed a comprehensive review of Doctor Who Appreciation Society activities with a view to having plans in place to ensure that the society continues to be vibrant, innovative, and relevant well beyond its upcoming 50th anniversary in 2026. The world is changing fast, and Dwas needs to adapt accordingly. Despite 2023 being one of our most successful years ever in terms of output, the financial climate we continue to face has proven extremely challenging. Moving forward, we envisage it will be very difficult continuing to provide members with the same value for money that they have previously enjoyed and expect from us, a fact reinforced by the latest Royal Mail price increase announced on Friday. As a result, we're going to be making some positive essential changes to secure our long-term future and also to extend the reach of our services. The following will therefore be implemented. With effect from the 1st of April 2025, Dwas will cease to be a paying membership society. Members can continue to renew up to this date on a pro rata payment basis. The society magazine, Celestial Toy Room, will become a quarterly online publication accessible by all at no charge. We know that many current members enjoy a physical publication, and to this end, printed copies will also be available to pre-order and be purchased separately each quarter. Society events, including conventions and other occasional Dwas publications, will continue as normal. We hope you are as excited as we are about these changes and look forward to having you with us as Dwas nears its golden anniversary. There's that golden anniversary thing again, just really hitting me.
I think it's fabulous that they're nearly 50 years old. That's amazing. It's great they've managed to keep going all this time.
Yeah, well, yeah. And essentially for a fan club to go that way, and if you look at all the talent it's had running it and behind the scenes and put the conventions on through all that time, it's something really that we've got to keep in mind because if we're all around still in 2026, big party time, I think, for that one. Well, this was the society announcement that came out, as I say, at the beginning of the week there. And it was quite bizarre to see that. Let's face it, we are fans, aren't we? We know about this as well. This is what Headlines is all about. But there were fans making headlines themselves, actually. There were some very bizarre things to come out of social media, things to say like sad to hear, surely it would be better to increase fees rather than making everything free. This idea seems crazy. I mean, there was an awful lot of this stuff going on. This is all from Facebook, by the way. Only
Chelsea, please.
Yeah, yeah. And it was this.
Yeah. Exactly. A contradiction in terms, obviously. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're all fans, aren't we? We're all fans, and there's an element here. But we thought, why not go straight to the top and ask exactly, and to clear all this up. So we're delighted, aren't we, guys, to bring in now.
We are.
On the Doctor Who Appreciation Society coordinator himself. This is Tony Jordan. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good evening, gents. I don't know whether you've come to the top, but I'll have to make do for now.
Always the top in my book. Thank you very much, sir. Always there. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming to see us, and welcome to Who's Views. Absolutely wonderful to see you. So listen, this is something that, as I say, you released this announcement at the beginning of the week there. I mean, let's start with the obvious here, shall we? And this, and I'm running the fact here that you're going to be repeating yourself here, but what's it all about and why has it come about?
It's been something that has been discussed for some years behind the scenes, and it's tended to be parked in the long grass. But some of us have seen this as the way forwards from certainly before COVID, shall we say. And we had a discussion at the start of this year, and basically the whole exec agreed that it now was the time to do it. We could put a time frame in, give people over a year's notification. And so we made the decision. We've worked long and hard on getting the wording as we felt it was clear and unequivocal in terms of what we're doing. And we stick by the decision. What I would say is that the membership of the society is around about 650. Back when I was coordinator in the mid-1980s, it was 3,500. Obviously, wow. It was a different world then. And CT was the way that you, going back to the origins of the society, CT was always the way that you got the news, because it was officially sort of licensed by the production office, first of all by Philip Hinchcliffe, then Graham Williams, and then JNT. Yeah. Now we have followers and subscribers on social media. We have approaching 30,000. And the question we asked ourselves was, we love CT. We love what our new editor, James Ashworth, is doing. And he has his assistant, Bruce Nicholson. They're producing a high quality magazine. It's gone quarterly now. The second quarterly issue will be out later this month. And the stark reality is, why not, with so many followers and subscribers, give them the opportunity to read something that we're proud of? So they can basically, from April next year, thousands, tens of thousands of people will be able to download CT and enjoy what we're producing. At the same time, we are going to have subscriber copies, and there's a possibility, a hope perhaps, that people will enjoy the download so much that they may decide to subscribe. So I think we're spreading the word. It's 2024. It's not 1976. It's not 1986. It's a different world. We're not going to be like the dinosaurs and get wiped out. We want to progress to the golden anniversary and take society forward from there on in. It's rather like saying, oh, well, Doctor Who with Ncuti Gatwa is the same as it was with Tom Baker. Of course it's not. It develops, but it's ultimately, the society is still the society, but we're doing things differently, just like Russell T Davies is doing things differently to what Verity Lambert did.
It's interesting as well, because obviously members joining the society over all these years have paid a fee to do that. If it was a monthly fee, that's gone towards your overheads. And you mentioned in your statement there that the latest Royal Mail increase. Now that's hugely important, because if you're sending out over 600 letters a month, I mean, this builds up, doesn't it? Because it's not cheap anymore. Because what's the second class stamp now? Somewhere like 60p or something?
No,
70p?
It's going up to 95. It's going up from 85 to 95. And this is just a regular letter. And first class is going to be 135, I think. It's something that society did best part of 20 years ago. People think, oh, it's always been the same CT. It hasn't. CT used to be A4, you may well remember. And then in the 2000s, early 2000s, the Royal Mail brought in the large letter concept.
That's right. Yeah.
had to go to A5 rather than A4, because if you were sending out something that was A4 size, the cost of posting it was prohibitive. So that was a change that I'm not sure some people didn't like it then, but it's been accepted for 2 decades or more. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't increase membership when we should have during COVID.
Right.
It stayed at £22 for many years, and and then we increased it last year quite a lot, £26. But then you have to look at all the costs that happen and everything. And of course, nowadays for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been full colour. When I was editor of CT 15 years ago, I was allowed, and it was 10 issues then. We always did a double summer and a double Christmas and New Year one. I think I was probably allowed 3 colour covers, and the rest of it was black and white, inside and out. So again, it's moved forward. It has moved forward with the times, and well, that's that basically.
Yeah. Happy days, though. They were happy days, because you used to get those lovely newsletters. And back then, you're absolutely right. That was the way that you did keep in touch with what was going on in the world of Doctor Who. And you mentioned it itself, it was all sanctioned to a large extent by whoever was in the production office at that time. They knew what you were going to print. We all know about that going on as well. It's so much more different now. And you mentioned that, the world has changed. Have you, as the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, found it difficult to react to? I mean, look at this, what we're on now. Who saw the rise of these sort of shows coming on? And lots of them around the world as well, all around the world. I mean, have you guys found that is one of the reasons that, maybe the membership went down from where it was to over 600?
Well, it certainly went down when the programme was taken off the air in 1989. And by the time it came back, if we exclude the TV movie in 2005, by then the internet was alive and kicking. Facebook was only a couple of years away. I think the society was a little slow in getting on board with social media. In fact, it was in 2011 that I took us onto Facebook and Twitter, opened the accounts.
Oh, really? Was that late?
Yes, it was that late. So
wow.
that was mistakes have been made, but everyone makes mistakes. But if you go back to what CT was, say, 40 years ago, it was news from the production office. It was fans advertising their fanzines. It was swaps, pen pals, and the such like. And nowadays, obviously, all the information, false and real, is out there in double quick time, and therefore what CT is totally different, which is a much more studied, conscious magazine that gives proper, decent articles, which looks at new Who and old Who and any other aspects of it. So the whole concept of CT has completely changed. It's kept the same name, but it's a different magazine to what it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah. You're saying as well that, obviously now what's going to happen is, because you've got so many people, that is a huge number on your Facebook page alone. And you're also on X, as you're saying, you're on Instagram as well. So if anybody's looking at those, you can go and follow the Doctor Who Appreciation Society on all of them, on all of those platforms. Go and find them. But you're going to now be able to take Celestial Toy Room to over 30,000 people on Facebook.
No, it's 30,000 across.
Across, right. Okay.
Facebook is 14,000.
Okay.
But if we just say Facebook, that's 14,000. And when it goes live as a PDF, we can, just because there's 14,000 followers, there are some Facebook posts we make which go viral, and they can get well over 100,000 views. So the potential audience out there is enormous. Yeah. And obviously it's a global audience. Of course, the society's always had overseas members and continues to, but now we'll be reaching wherever the internet is, basically, and that's just about everywhere.
Yeah, so it's quite an exciting thought, isn't it, for you to be able to reach that? And as you say, they may actually say, well, actually, how do I join? From the statement there, and from what some people were saying on that, there isn't the membership itself, the cost of membership, that's going completely. But how would people in the future take themselves into the society a little bit more?
Well, they can subscribe, and I imagine we'll be selling CT through eBay probably, and we'll put up plenty of details about it in advance so people can subscribe based on what they see. There's at the moment, the principal activity of the society is our convention output, which has grown hugely in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We did 6 events last year, plus the Patrick Troughton plaque. We've already done an event at Riverside in January. In just over a fortnight's time, we're back there with the Caves of Androzani 40th anniversary that sold out in 4 hours. We've got the Capitol at the end of next month. That is where we really have found a niche. And again, the Society's been doing conventions. Did the first ever convention in August 1977 at
That's right, yeah.
Broomwood Methodist Church Hall. But like everything in life, the convention department has had good times and bad times. And in the late 80s, a whole host of other conventions arose. Found ones for the first 6, 7, 8 years, it was all just Society ones. And so people tend to follow where the Society goes, I think. But at the moment, we're really rolling on the convention front, and we're really pressing forward with that. Not that we're ignoring a CT or anything else, but old members at the moment, and we won't ignore them, followers and whatever in future. We do get out there with our social media. So we are excited about where we're going, and we don't believe that because something has happened for 48 years, it can carry on for another 4 years even. We have to go forward, and that's what we're planning to do. But we will still be providing hard copies for those people who want it.
And there's a couple of people in the chat as well that are saying that they will continue to have their hard copies. That's fine. I do have a question for you, which is unrelated, from Lex. He wanted to know from you, how did the Doctor Who Appreciation Society first come about? Can you remember that, Tony?
It was formed out of the Westfield College Doctor Who fan club, which was by Jan Vincent Rudsky, Stephen Payne, and I can't remember who else it was. It was in May 1976, and people like Jeremy Bentham came on board very quickly, and they plucked up the nerve to go and see Philip Hinchcliffe in his office to explain what they wanted to do and would the BBC be interested in helping push it forward. And he welcomed them and basically gave the Society official recognition, and it took off from there. Keith Barnfather organised the first convention in August 77, like I say, and it just grew and grew and grew. I actually remember that I tried to first join the Society in the 70s, and the message I got back was that it was full, which was, I think
really?
There must have been crossed wires there. Yeah. But it continued to grow to its peak in the mid 1980s. That was also on the back of the massive Chicago conventions in the early 80s. That brought some Americans on board as well.
Yeah, of course. And also that also had an effect on fandom over here, didn't it? Because we saw those wonderful conventions in 1983 onwards, and we thought, hang on a sec. So thank goodness. I've been to a lot of Doctor Who Appreciation Society gigs in my time, and have enjoyed them. And that's the brilliant thing about it, Tony, as well, because there are other fans there, isn't it? You know, this is a place where you can actually meet fans. I mean, people go to the Capitol now, for example, to hook up again, don't they? Yeah, and there's that sociable side of stuff. It's absolutely fantastic that comes there. Do you think that would have been an element of people being a little bit worried and the initial reactions maybe when the announcement was made?
Sorry, the announcement on Sunday?
Yeah. Do you think people might have been a little bit worried that, they're changing the whole format of this?
No, because I think we made it clear, and it said Society events, including conventions and other occasional publications, will continue as normal. And if I could just pick up on what you said, Justin. 2 years ago, when we had the Capitol at the first weekend of April 2022, it had been postponed 3 times because of COVID. And that event was quite extraordinary, because it was like there were over 300 people coming together for things they hadn't been able to do because of the pandemic for over 2 years. And it was joyous because people were celebrating. And there's an expression that goes around the good convention, which is called lobbycon. People don't just go there for the panels and the autographs. They go there to be in the lobby every time I have a meeting with whichever hotel we're using, I say, I've got to tell you guys, make sure that you have your bars fully stocked and you have plenty of staff, because Doctor Who fans like a drink.
And so do certain actors that tend to turn up as well.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Of course you can't. I just think, this whole thing here, I mean, from my point of view, it's you guys looking at how do we fit into this crazy world that we all find ourselves in now, where there's so much around us. We've got the rise of shows like this one, for example, live streaming. You have the challenges, and we've got to remember that the Dwas is still put together by volunteers, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the amount of time we spend, the amount of time we spend on it, the amount of time I spend on the Capitol. My wife hates me doing it. It's just we're talking of hundreds and hundreds of hours just on one thing, and whoever's doing whatever they're doing, whether they're doing social media, whether they're doing CT, whatever is the treasurer, it is, as you say, it's in our spare time. We do it voluntarily. We do it with goodwill. And we do it to try and we don't want to be the people who are out there. We want the society to be what people are looking at, not us. The society is what's been going for 48 years, not the members of the executive or whatever. So the society is the be all and end all as far as we're concerned. That's what we're promoting, not ourselves.
Yeah. And the important thing is to say that here you are, as I say, acknowledging this world that we're in now, acknowledging everything that's going on around you, and trying to fit into that so that you are going to last goodness knows how long. As we move forward. I mean, it was amazing, really. I mean, I know you said that when we started chatting that the memberships went down when the show went off after 89, gradually, probably, but you're still here. And like Doctor Who magazine, you have to have that challenge now because things are so instant now. So Doctor Who magazine. No, with all respect, when you get the news there, you know it already, don't you? You're just reading it again in a different format. And you guys have a similar problem. But it seems to me that with your social media and what you're trying to do here, you really are moving with the times.
That's what we're trying to do. If I could give you a quote from Matthew Kilburn, someone I have a lot of respect for, after we made the post, he said, "It's the end of an era. As a society born in an associative age at the height of trade union power adapts to an individualistic and networked world." Oof. And I thought, I wish I could be clever enough to come up with that.
I know that's quite heavy, actually, isn't it?
I know, but he's a proper academic and historian and whatever. But I just think that says it all in a way that basically, if we just put that up, it would have been over and done with.
Can I ask you a question, Tony? You mentioned earlier about previous producers like Hinchcliffe and Graham Williams and J&T supporting the society. Do you get any support from Cardiff in any way now with the new series?
No, when it came back, Russell T. Davis made it very clear that the Dwas weren't going to get recognition. He probably saw how fandom turned from being overwhelmingly in support of J&T in his first 2 or 3 years to what happened afterwards. And he knew that the internet was on the rise and all that sort of thing. It was global and there wasn't really a need to support a fan club, which is fine. It's quite interesting that someone like Stephen Moffat was more than happy to come to the Capitol last year. So obviously he says, I'm an ex-Doctor Who showrunner. But it's good that there are still people who are quite high up in it who are happy to share with fans.
And that's exactly what we want as well, don't we? Because if you're going to invest in it, you want to meet the people that have put the show on, not just the actors, but you want to see all the backstage staff as well. And if they can come to something like the Capitol, fantastic. When you come into Scotland with that, by the way, I've asked you this before, haven't I? Come on.
The Capitol next month will be the first time the Society's been in Birmingham for 40 years. And in fact, I've been sending out some press releases to the local media. It was 84, and I think Peter Davison was the principal guest, was the last time it was in Birmingham. So
I didn't realise it was 40 years. Goodness,
it's going in the right direction, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
We'll get him to get up here eventually, Paul.
Yeah.
Keep sending him the odd message saying, "Come on."
We've got to go past Yorkshire first, so we'll.
Of course,
I have to. If I could just go back onto the conventions, trying to find a venue for conventions that is not so overpriced that you can't afford it nowadays. It's incredibly difficult. And one of the reasons for that is there are still a lot of hotels that are being used for refugees, and they are out of the market, and the other hotels are cashing in on that. So when it came to the event we're having this year, I looked around the Gatwick area. I looked around sort of Surrey, Woking, Guildford. I went out into the Thames Valley towards Reading, and I went around the M42 corridor, Solihull, and where we've ended up. And a lot of hotels didn't fit the bill, and those that did, the prices they wanted were just ridiculous.
I get that. Yeah,
because we have to invest in the guests. The guest budget is between 40 and 45% of the total budget. That's just in guest fees. So you think of everything on top of that, it's like, okay.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, when you're putting on this convention, and I get why it can be very hard work for you, because you've got to balance this out, and you've got to pass that cost on to the people, the fans. And it's again, we're looking at costs now, which is one of the reasons that you guys at the Dwas have had to do this and move with the times. We're in a cost of living crisis still, and it doesn't look as if it's going to end anytime soon.
No, absolutely not.
On and on. So if you're saying to a family, for example, this is going to cost you 200 and something quid, they're going to really think about that, aren't they? They're not going to come along, and it's a shame, really.
I think if the cost of if you booked it by last summer for this year's event and you paid for 2 nights in the hotel, so that's just the convention and the 2 nights in the hotel with breakfast, I think the cost was £370 last year. It was 721. It was £250, so it's gone up by £100 just for this year, but we can't do anything about it.
No, well, no one can you?
No.
To get slightly political, they had the opportunity to try and help the hospitality industry this week, and they didn't. But anyway, we won't go down that particular road. But this is what happens: the costs come back on. So you guys as well, you've got all this in the planning. You've got to reach all the people that are on your social media, which is a hell of a number, as we've discussed. You've also got to bring the costs down. Not one of you is taking any money from this because it's all volunteers we've established, and you're running conventions, and you're doing the big one. Capital is the big one now, and then you've got all these smaller ones coming on as well.
Riverside, yeah,
the rivers, and they're famous now as well, aren't they? I've seen these put out on news, social media now, not just the Doctor Who ones, but the normies, the not-wees.
The Riverside ones are great because it's a wonderful venue. They get the licenses from the BBC to show whatever we're showing. And basically, if you're not interested in autographs or photographs, so that you can pay for them, you can get between an hour and a half of Doctor Who to watch. Normally 2 panels in a beautiful venue on the banks of the River Thames for 15 quid. Bargain of the century.
It is. And handy if you're down there as well and you can get to it. So if you are down in that area and you haven't come across the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, I can't believe I'm saying that. Who would not have come across the Doctor Who Appreciation Society in one form or another? It's absolutely amazing to think that. But you can go to their social media now and have a look at all their material and what they're offering. Raymond, what do you mean by this, son? Scotland may as well be the moon. Hello. Ooh.
One thing I'll tell you guys, as was put to me, I heard someone said to me many, many years ago, you can take the whole of the population of the United Kingdom from Scotland all the way down to Newcastle and maybe Durham and whatever. The entire population of that is probably less than the population of the 32 boroughs of London.
Oh, totally.
Of Greater London.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And that is the problem.
Yeah. And what's happening, of course, in London is it's increasing every week. You can't keep up with it anymore, isn't it? It's frightening. Let's have a look. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat. It's nice to see you. And thank you so much for welcoming Tony to the show. We've got here as well, we've got Dalek, I love you, saying hi to everybody there. Digby is with us as well to say evening, lovely people on the channel, evening, lovely people in the chat. Nice to see you. And we've also got Nathan. Hello, Nathan. Nice to see you. Welcome. For those members of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society who are watching, you are very silent, so I take it you are happy with everything that Tony's saying here. We've got Lex asking you, Did Tom Baker ever come to the Doctor Who Appreciation Society? Well,
He was at the first ever convention in August 1977. He did a panel with Louise Jameson. John Pertwee was there as well. Graham Williams was there. Matt Irvin was there. I think they were the five. I know that Liz Sladen and Ian Marter couldn't make it because of previous things they'd agreed to do. The last society event that Tom did was one at the Old Riverside called Time and Again in 2009. And that was an amazing event because we had not only Tom, but Sir Derek Jacobi on the same bill on a one-day event. That sold out double quick.
I'm not surprised. That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get those two on the same stage at the same time. Incredible, and I'm not surprised. And this is the thing as well, Who viewers, thank you for that question, Lex, thank you so much. But that's the other thing about this as well. If you're going to participate with some of these events with the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, you've got to be in touch with them to know, because you've got to be quick, because as Tony's saying, by God, they shift. I have had some right humps when I haven't been able to have my ticket. George, hello, nice to see you. Hope you are well, sir. Thanks for that. So we've got all that coming on as well. And it's the quality, not the quantity, says Raymond. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I just respond to George? Thank you for the Daleks, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go. See, this is what we do as fans, isn't it? Go on, Ian, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
I think if you were starting Dwas now, you would be starting it along the lines of the model that you're moving to.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're keeping it current. You know, if you, I know you've got some people that always prefer the physical, you know, the media in their hands and everything else. You're always going to get that. But if you started Dwas now and it's just on paper and you have to pay and all this kind of thing, people say you were Stone Age. So you are doing absolutely the right thing. You know, it was as it was in the 80s. For that very reason, that's what the world was doing. You know, when you look forward to CT through the letterbox. But if it was today, you would do it as per that model, and I think it's exactly the right thing to do.
Thank you, Paul. We of course, back in the day, if you wanted to go to a convention, there was an advert in CT, and if you wanted to renew your membership, there was a form inside CT that did it. Convention tickets are bought online through our website. Membership is paid for online through our website. We haven't, like everyone else, we haven't accepted checks for some time now. The check is basically dead. Exactly. I mean, unlike vinyl, it isn't going to come back.
No chance. Well, the bankers won't allow that anyway, will they? That's because again, that's cost to them, although they could probably afford it.
But no, like postal orders, if you remember them as well.
Oh yeah,
Dwas postal orders from a membership.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Paul, I say, bring back luncheon vouchers.
Exactly. Yes.
There's one for the youth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look it up. Go and Google that. Yeah. Well, listen, I think you've cleared up. I hope you've cleared up there any misconceptions. I'm hoping that it was what we fans do. And we do it beautifully and so well because we've got it down to an art now. I hope it was just an initial reaction of, and it's dissipated a little bit now because, as Ian's saying there really well, this is the modern world, this is the social media world, and the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, if it's going to last another 50 years, has to go with it, either with or without a series, to be quite honest, Tony, as well.
Well, it survived in one form and another without it for effectively 15 and a half years.
Yeah.
I think it could do again. It would change, wouldn't it? It would adapt to that was the program. We'd find out, but I think society, rather like the program, has potential to always go on. Oh, good man, Raymond. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, as long as the people support it, and as long as you have people who are willing to run it. And I never in my wildest dreams or worst nightmares thought that when I stood down as coordinator in the second half of the 1980s, I would be back doing the same role 38 years later.
Crikey.
What tempted you back?
Insanity. Insanity. Which sounds a bit like salary. I just got the spelling a bit wrong. No, I've been back on the exec for 16 years. I edited CT for 3 years. Then I got us going on social media and got promotions going on that. And then in 2015, I suggested, because the Society hadn't done a weekend event since 2008. And I said, it's the 40th anniversary of the Society next year. We should do a weekend event. We'll call it the Capitol, and all the rooms will be named after different spaces or areas or something in Gallifrey. And as I said, it was just meant to be a one-off. And by the end of that weekend, I said, hey, we're going to do another one next year. And so that's why I've sort of stayed on. And then I was asked to take over again last year, and I sort of acceded to the request.
So this is what happens when you have a great time at a convention. You go, let's do it again. You need to really go away and have a sleep, really, before you open your mouth and say things like that, because people remember and they go, you said this.
Yeah. 2 things you can get from conventions. Number 1 is convention lurgy. And number 2 is convention come down, where you've had such a great time, and then Sunday night or the Monday you go back home and it's like you just feel empty because you had such a buzz seeing people and meeting, people. And then we know that people like Katie Manning, who's a good family friend of ours, she's at the Capitol every year, and she always gives her autograph queues go on for twice as long as anyone else, because she always insists on giving time to every single person, whether she's met them 100 times or this is the first time. And that's the magic of it for me.
Well, that brings out the whole thing, because she also tends to remember you. If she's seen you several times, she does remember you, doesn't she? And Katie is just special. We all love Katie, and it's brilliant that she's always at Capitol, because that's where you can find her if you want to. If you're looking for her, that's where you've got to go. You've got to go to the Capitol. Nathan's asking you a question. How do you join the Dwas? Is it just online?
Go on to the website dwasonline.co.uk. And one of the main tabs is membership. Click on that and it will tell you can still join for a year now. And you can just join online. That's simple.
There you go, Nathan. It's as simple as that. Don't forget, you can also find them on all the social media platforms to keep up to date. And very, very soon also to get the Celestial Toy Room newsletter, which was always a valuable resource when we were I used to love waiting for it to come through the post every month. And sometimes it was a long wait, because especially when I was fans in that hiatus period where you were just desperate to know what was happening next. It was beautiful times, actually, looking back. Very happy times.
Well, that and TARDIS was always great fun too. So, yeah.
TARDIS, yeah.
TARDIS has had a great revival in the last few years under Robbie Dunlop. The quality of what he's produced, I don't know whether you guys have had any of them. They have been something very, very special indeed. And it's great. Of course, back in the old days, they're mailed out for us now. CT, the exec, used to meet and had to send out 3,000 copies, and they all started putting them in envelopes and used to staple. But it was just after the Ark had landed.
With Stephen Taylor. Yeah.
Yes.
See, get all the geeks together and we can go places. Yes, exactly.
We can geek all night if you want, but
we could.
Well, listen, I think you've done brilliantly with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on to Who's Views Headlines and telling us all about it. We've been through all the material. You can get the Doctor Who Appreciation Society details on all the social media platforms, and you can also go to the Dwas website if you're interested in all the information about becoming a member. And let's not panic, because it's not going anywhere. If you've got tickets for the Capitol in the next few weeks, congratulations, have a fantastic time. If you're going to support them with all the other events as well done. That's brilliant as well. So long may it continue, Tony. Well done. Keep up the good work, and to you and all the team there, because you are volunteers and it is a lot of work that you're all putting into it. Well done to all of you.
For the next 50 years. 100 years. 100 years on Dwas.
I won't be around 50, let alone 100.
No, and we'll have to get down to the Capitol at some point, but it's in Scotland, and come and see you again, because it is a great gig. It's a really good gig. So listen, thank you. You know, it's lovely to see you again. Thank you for coming on. Anything more you want to say to anybody watching this from around the world?
No, not really. No, I think we've had a few questions. I've expanded as far as I really am able to about the announcement. We've talked about conventions. We've gone slightly off track. We've looked back at the old days, but it's because we're looking back at the old days that we want to look forward as well. Because we're not blinkered, and we just need to move forward now.
Yeah, I mean, wish you all the best, because it looks to me like you're actually, personally, I think you're doing the right thing. I think it's common sense, and good luck to you. And I'll say again, for anybody that says it's not common sense, just go and have a look how much the stamps are going to be from next week. Nathan wants to know how to volunteer. Can you get in touch with you on the Facebook pages?
I would suggest he emails inquiries at dwasonline.co.uk. I'll pick that up.
Fantastic. And Kirsty's saying, before you go, great living room taste.
Thank you. Yes, it's TARDIS-esque, the blue, isn't it?
This is indeed, yeah.
Very on vogue and very on cue.
Yeah,
So that's brilliant. Listen, you're very welcome to stay with us, but we're going to move on now. But up to you. What you can depart or you can stay. Up to yourself.
I have to go and get my dinner.
Then you do that.
Mrs. Jordan doesn't get me dinner. I have to do my own.
It is a pleasure to see you. It's been far too long, and hopefully catch up with you very soon. So you take care of yourself.
Lovely to meet you, Tony. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, guys.
See you, mate. Well, there you go. There's the updates there for everything that's happened on the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. That was brilliant, wasn't it, guys?
It's lovely. Yeah, nice man. Lovely man. Yeah,
absolutely. You're watching Who's Views. This is Headlines. Thanks very much for joining us. We're going to be moving on now from all the Doctor Who Appreciation Society material. And yeah, I've got a bit of a, before we move on to the Celestial Toymaker animation, everybody, and what's been happening at the Radio Times.
What a great link, JT. What a great link.
I want to ask you all, Paul, Third Doctor Ian, everybody in the chat, I've got a little bit of a question for you. Who remembers this, and what is it?
Is that Bergerac?
Bergerac?
Oh, you see. Yes, well done. It's Bergerac. If you don't know what Bergerac is, well, you've missed a television classic, because this was something that was huge back in the day on BBC television. And there is a Doctor Who link, because it was created, of course, by our very own, who's this? Yes, it's Robert Banks-Stewart. God love him, who a lot of you will know, of course, from Doctor Who, from back in the day. He was very involved, wasn't he? And came up with some of the brilliant stories. But Bergerac was his creation. What is this in the news for? Well, there's yet another Doctor Who link to this, because believe it or not, the BBC look to be bringing it back. Now, I've been hearing about a Bergerac. Look at Paul's face. I've been hearing about a Bergerac reboot since before COVID, and for some reason or another, it never really got off the ground. But this time round, it looks as if it's just a question of time. It's been talked about in The Sun, as well as a couple of other papers just this very week. Almost a done deal. Iconic 80s BBC detective series set to return to TV screens with a new face in the title role. In 2021, the series itself was branded racist, sexist, and offensive by censors. Hooray!
Yay!
More of that, I say. Classic tele-detective drama Bergerac could be returning to our screens. The BBC show, which starred John Nettles as Jim Bergerac and was set in Jersey, ended in 1991 after a 10-year run. I didn't realize it had gone for 10 years. I remember it, but I don't remember it going on for 10 years, because I drifted off television.
Did it not come about because Shoestring ended really early? Shoestring was a big hit, and then I think Trevor Eve didn't want to do it, so
he didn't want to do it anymore.
Instead. Yeah.
Yes.
Because Shoestring's a great series as well by Robert Banks-Stewart. Fabulous.
And also on the back of that as well, Louise Jameson was in it as well as Bergerac's girlfriend. Do you remember that? We had various Doctor Who alumni in that, but we also had, and this is where I get a bit of a name droppy, so do forgive me, Who viewers. John Nathan Turner was once asked to produce the thing to get him off Doctor Who. And he told me years later that he'd been very snobbish by turning it down just simply because he didn't fancy going to Jersey. And it was one of his regrets not going to do Bergerac, because it was a huge hit. And I think John would have loved it in Jersey, to be quite honest, and producing the show.
Didn't he? Andrew Cartmel tells a story that apparently if he did do it, he would fire John Nettles and move it to somewhere else.
Yeah, Brighton.
Yeah,
We didn't have to travel. No, but there's another link. Oh yes, Who viewers, there's a reason we're talking about this. There's another link here, because look at this in the same article. A reboot with a new face in the title role is almost a done deal, with an unnamed streaming service on board. A cameo for Nettles is in the series, now 80, has been discussed. A source said, if all goes according to plan, Filming will take place in the summer. So, who could be taking over from John Nettles in the role, the title role of Bergerac? In the running are Aidan Turner, James Norton, whoa. And yes, you guessed it,
Steady the buffs.
David Tennant.
I'm surprised there's a black disabled woman in there as well.
Well, these are the three that the bookies are really favouring, and in the lead at the moment, Aidan, James, and David for the role of Bergerac. What do you think about that, guys? What do you think about that in the chat? Would you watch it?
There's no. I find when they redo things, it's lack of imagination. I think a little bit like remaking films. I think sometimes it's a classic. Leave it as it was. I think, but
right.
I think David Tennant doing it would be a big mistake. I think David Tennant's a great actor, but he's already associated with many other parts like Doctor Who, Broadchurch, etc., etc. Having his Bergerac, would be a mistake if they're trying to get a new face for it. He's too well known. Like Tom said about Peter Davison having an identity as Tristan before he became Doctor Who, a bit like that.
But he's now done a lot of these detective things, hasn't he? From Broadchurch onwards, and he seems to be getting a little bit typecast in these because he's done about 3 or 4, hasn't he? Well, I might have lost count. Yes, George is saying that didn't Lou Jameson appear, but yes, and she was brilliant, wasn't she? Kirsty, what do you mean? What? Do you know what? I wonder if it was actually considered.
Probably.
I wouldn't
be amazed if it wasn't. I mean, it's
and
just,
Jodie Whittaker would be one on the end.
Yeah, I'm stunned that the selection of 3 white men, to be quite honest. Not that I think that's a bad thing, but I just think in this day and age, I am amazed that they have dared to put forward 3 white men. 3 straight white men as well, I presume. You know.
Yes. It seems to be. Raymond is saying here.
I don't think it'll be Tennant. I think his star's on the wane a little bit at the moment, and there's a little bit of fatigue, Tennant fatigue, I think.
Well, I think we've got that from the 3 episodes he did at the end of last year, didn't we? I love that the fact that Raymond Williams has already come up with Jane Bergerac. It is amazing to think that they didn't go down that route. It could have been Juliet Bravo meets Bergerac. There's another classic for you, everybody. Juliet Bravo. Simon's with us in the chat as well, saying Bergerac was great. I watched it all the time to see if I recognised anyone, as my dad was born there. That's one of the reasons I think, Simon, it was a huge hit, wasn't it? Because Jersey was filmed in a beautiful way. It was ahead of its time, actually, the way they made it, because it was, the tourism went up, I believe, on the island to the point where the islanders were like, oh, I don't know if that's true, but they were like, oh, they're all coming back, all this sort of stuff. But it did look beautiful, and it was always shot in the sun as well, so it looked fabulous, and all the lovely beaches and the flowers made it look gorgeous. But a lot of people did watch to see if they got on, didn't they? I remember reading about that.
Well, I'm sure they do Bergerac tours around Jersey, no doubt, to different locations.
Oh, they should do.
They probably
if
do.
They don't, they should. And now, if it comes back, it might have that renaissance for them. Like things can happen. Lex is saying to us, I think reboots of it should not be done. The original is best and ran for 10 years. Yeah, I mean, it would be a reboot. It's not a continuation. This would be a total reboot, because of course it would be the same character, just in the I hope they keep him in the car. David doesn't need to do everything, says Kirsty. Try telling him that, mate. Pop him a note through.
It'll be Alison Hammond.
Alison Hammond.
She's everything else, isn't she?
Yeah. George Stephen is saying, but the names are media speculation though, aren't they? They are media speculation along with the bookies. Who are having a great time now. And I just thought it was a bit of fun to bring into this, because I just thought, here we go again. There's Tennant in there as well. What's this from Garbage? Probably be a show running down Bergerac, calling him out as a bent copper. Oh, I hope not, because he was always quite...
Yeah.
He was good, wasn't he? And George is saying to us, from memory, it was all shot on film and on location. So the BBC... the BBC did spend a bit of money on it. It was very glossy. That was the thing, wasn't it? It was very, very glossy. And Garbage is saying to us, just watch the Jasper Carrot show, The Detectives, with the Bergerac episode.
Great series, fantastic stuff. Yeah.
And tourism did increase a lot, says Simon. Well, if anything's going to happen and they bring it back with I would like to see Mr. Norton. Nothing against the other two much, but Mr. Norton, I think, is young enough to carry it on for another 10 years, quite honest. And he's a cracking actor, and he's easy on the eye.
Can you say that? I don't know.
I don't care. Just have. Oh, look, and Simon's saying they did hundreds of tours to this day. Great, so it's still going on. Yeah. Well, all the kids now, we're watching it. We're all our age now, aren't we? We're all now. Yeah. So when you go to Jersey, I suppose it would be the thing to do the Bergerac tour. If you can remember the episodes and you were a fan, fantastic. Daleka, I love you, is tuning in saying, I hope the Doctor Who Appreciation Society does not suffer from the toxic side of fandom with all social media side of things. Well, they've been on their social media now for quite a while. So I would imagine that, like the rest of us, they're in the middle of that now.
Thing is with that, if you go back to the 80s, I remember there was one ex-member of the exec in the 80s that went on to work on the series when it came back with Russell T Davies, and he left, and he posted disparaging comments somewhere in one of the fanzines, and he gave himself under a false name, but his false name was an anagram of his actual name, and it was really easy to work out who it was. So I mean, there was bitchiness then, but it was just done via snail mail in the letters column in a fanzine. So it's nothing new. It's just the manner in which it's done.
I think it's more aggressive these days as well, because we have these things called keyboard warriors, and it's all instant a bit more now, and that's what's led to online bullying as well, isn't it? Oh gosh, that's a show in itself. Raymond is saying that he agrees James Norton would be the best choice. Well, I'd certainly watch. And Nathan, was it a normal detective show, or did it have some gimmick? No, the only gimmick was it was in Jersey, really. It was straightforward drama, self-contained stories as well, but an underlying arcs, because he had his father-in-law in there as well. He had the drinking issue. He had the reams of girlfriends coming into it as well. It was basically a murder a week, wasn't it, really? Ahead of its time.
And then John Nettles went on to do Midsummer Murders, which was a murder every week as well. So...
Yeah, and he had huge success with that, didn't he?
He did,
and he retired. He absolutely retired. Can you imagine if he's coming into the new version and he's playing Bergerac's dad or something like that? That would be quite fun, wouldn't it?
Or really? Playing the Terence Alexander part, the Charlie Hungerford part, that would be interesting.
Another Doctor Who link, of course, because he went and turned up in Mark of the Rani, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that there. Well, anyway, I just thought that was a bit of fun just to break us up between the Doctor Who Appreciation Society and our next headline. And I know a lot of you would want to talk about this one as well now. So this is, oh gosh, if you were with us here on Who's Views on Monday, you would have seen me chatting with the lovely, lovely, lovely Bergerac, who was here to tell us all about his weekend visit to the BFI, where, of course, they screened the animated version of the Celestial Toymaker. You would have seen how very polite he was trying to be to say what he thought about the episodes, which are still at this particular point not finished, and that was clarified at the BFI on that Saturday. As ever, Bedouin told us that the actual staging of the event by the BFI was superb and second to none. The actual episodes, the animation itself, something different. And yet again, this has actually made it into the Radio Times Online, who said that Doctor Who restoration expert defends experimental Celestial Toymaker animation. Mark Ayres, who restored the original soundtrack, has acknowledged that the new technique might, quote, divide opinion. I wonder why it makes him think that. What could possibly make him think this could divide? For those of you listening right now, I'm showing a couple of scenes from the Celestial Toymaker, the publicity. But back to the story. It continues. The latest Lost Doctor Who story to be restored with new animated visuals is 1966 The Celestial Toymaker, with the motion capture technique being applied alongside the existing soundtrack. The visuals have been provided by Shapeshifter Studios and mark a departure from previous restorations of missing episodes, which have featured a more traditional animation style. Speaking at a screening of the new animation at the BFI South Bank, audio engineer Mark Ayres, who has restored and enhanced the original soundtrack, described the technique as experimental and explained that it allows for greater fluidity of on-screen movement. This basically is all done with motion capture. So they've got actors in to act all the parts along to the soundtrack, said Ayres. It's all synchronized to the soundtrack. Sometimes it doesn't work and I have to tweak the soundtrack where the dialogue hasn't quite synchronized, but it is a new technique. It is a motion capture technique, and it means the characters are far more fluid. The new version of the Celestial Toymaker, which is available to pre-order on DVD and Blu-ray, will also feature better quality audio than fans have heard previously, with early releases having to rely on what Ayres called, quote, a very dodgy recording. The new recordings, Ayres said, are much better than we've had before for this story, and were remarkably discovered at a landfill site. Ayres' work included not just restoration of the existing tapes, but also the addition of new sound effects. I have enhanced the soundtrack a lot on this, but I've kept it all very in keeping, he said. I've tried to be faithful to the original sound. Okay, so we've got all that there.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Shapeshifter Studios have shape-shifted the characters so they don't look anything like what they did on telly.
Well, what I didn't realize before I'd seen your program with Bedware that this was part of the animation team who did the Web of Fear, and all these people, all these characters were very drunk. Remember, they all couldn't move properly, you know. And I was quite surprised they got to do it again, because this motion caption idea isn't really that good, is it? What I'm concerned about, though, is that Mark Ayres said he's tweaked the audio. That means it's edited, I take it. Yeah. So we're losing chunks of the original, not just from the picture, but now from the sound as well.
I'm going to say at this point, before I forget, and I said it on the Visitation show with Bedware, if you haven't got the BBC Audio collection version of the Celestial Toymaker, get it now before they do something to it. Either delete it or tweak it or take what alleged offensive bits out of it. Go and get it from the BBC Radio collection if you can. If you can't get it from any of the usual resources, then try and get it from eBay or something like that. Go and find it before something happens. I'm terrified that guys, they're going to just, you know, not bother with it ever and ever because of the reasons you're saying there, Paul. I mean, it is bizarre. I mean, let's just remind ourselves of what we're looking at here. These are the slides that we showed in the Visitations episode with Bedware. Now, that is... oh, I'm getting a headache just looking at this again. You can see this, what Bedware was telling us here, but this is how they've changed the look of the episodes here. So it's not what we would have in our heads if we are looking at the Celestial Toymaker and have listened to it and have read the book and have seen the photographs. It's totally different, isn't it? I mean, there's our favorite clown there, looking lanky, to be quite honest. It doesn't look like him at all. No. This is the First Doctor and Stephen in the TARDIS. It must have been a bad day for Peter Purvis.
Yeah.
Has he been stung by bees?
Something.
Seems very swollen, doesn't it?
I mean,
that one I don't like. That's not too bad. I quite like that particular image, but it's way off.
Yeah, we're showing the Trilogic game here. We're showing the Hopscotch one here for those of you that are listening, and it's not bad. I can understand why, in certain cases, they've tried to move the Celestial Toymaker on so it doesn't look like the studio setting. But had the rest of it been faithful, I would have probably forgiven that. But part of me can't.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I'm very fond of Mark Ayres' work normally, but I've still not forgiven him for the Daleks, to be fair. And this is another change. He's not wholly responsible for this, to give him his due, to be fair. But the fact he's had to edit some of the actual soundtrack, I know there are lines that have to come out due to racial connotations in them, but I understand that. But having to cut other bits just to fit the action seems like they're doing it in reverse. The reason why they have the soundtrack is to add the pictures to that, not take the soundtrack away, then add the pictures. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying the original version was not good enough and is a bit embarrassing, so we're going to change it and make it in what we feel is the right image. It's almost like they're saying they know better than the original production team. And I don't think they have the right to do that. You know, by all means, go off and do their own little inner circle fan favorite, do it themselves that way. But the version that gets released to us plebs should be as faithful to what was on TV as possible. That is the whole purpose of these things, to give us what has been wiped, not to give us somebody else's pompous opinion of what it should look like. Some of those visuals are absolutely ridiculous.
As you mentioned, JT, on the show with Bedouin, that if they're trying to cater for this imaginary new audience, then how many units are they going to sell?
Well, not many.
Not many.
Because that imaginary new audience, as I said on the show with Bedouin, it doesn't exist, you know. And I mean, my feelings, I expressed myself very, very clearly on the show with Bedouin. It's Visitations, if you want to go and have a look at that, where Bedouin did tell us all about his day at the BFI watching this. God love him. And there's a lot of you commented as well. He did take one for the team there by getting through it all. Let's have a look, see what they're saying in the chat. Garbage is saying experimental and give us your money. What? Simple as that, isn't it? We're going to do things our way. We're going to try with all this experimental stuff, and you're going to pay for it. And yet, all we want, as I said the other night, is we just want something which is as near to the actual broadcast episodes as possible. That's why we're fans. You know?
I just hope that this is not what's going to happen going forward. I can understand that the Celestial Toy Room or Toymaker is actually a fantasy story, so you've room for license, allegedly. But
to some extent,
to some extent. If you do that with the next one, say they do it with Smugglers, what's that going to be like? Or the Highlanders? Or
it's going to turn out like the Pirates of Penzance mixed with Pirates in the Caribbean, isn't it? A little big high camp and big boots and women pirates and all this sort of stuff. Oh,
that sounds good.
I'll get
like Pugwash.
Yeah, Captain Pugwash. Yeah.
Now you see that I used to like watching that, but that was of its day, wasn't it? Lex Kane's TV movies says looks a bit like Captain Scarlet the animation. Yes, that's what was said the other night as well. Nathan says needs more money like DC cartoon movies or Star Wars, The Bad Batch. Hopeful thoughts. Again, I think the BBC are missing the trick here by doing all this arty-farty pretentious stuff, Nathan. And I was saying the other night, I really think that they need to understand that animations need to compete with all these other animations coming through. It can't always be arty-farty, pretentious stuff. Raymond is saying, I find it sad that there is an incomplete fan version on YouTube, which has far superior animation and yet a professional production throughout this horrendous version. Totally, Raymond. And yet they will not go to those fans and say, oh, we like your work. Do you want to get paid? And I don't understand why. I mean, it's there, isn't it? And it's just lovely. Garbage is also telling us, so it's a poor animation and they expect us to pay for it, and they are trying to justify the poor quality with excuses if it doesn't work. People don't like it, just don't release it. And George is saying, I found the animation of Web 3 literally unwatchable and skipped through it. If Celestial Toymaker is along those lines, I'll really struggle with it.
Yeah, I think it is, George. I think it is.
Yeah. Well, it is, isn't it? And we're going to come to that in a second. Simon tells us, did he use the incredible AI speech reconstruction from Descript? I've used it to wonderfully improve Bill H's shows. Okay. Oh, you're going over my head there. And Bobby D75, nice to see you, mate. Stephen looks like Spock. But that Star Trek animation was brilliant. Do you remember that one back in the day? The animation
Yeah, that and there's a Tarzan animation at the same time. That was great as well. Remember that?
And He-Man and She-Ra. They used all the same cells. If you go and watch for it, they were so clever. That production company, so clever. Kirsty is saying to us as well. Someone on Monday stream said '60s Squid Game. I still can't stop laughing over that. And Dalek, I love you. Shame the animators did not put in the hard work to make it more like the original. Yeah, well. That's all we want, isn't it, Dalek? I love you. We want all this sort of stuff going on. The short animation, says Nathan, on YouTube is far superior. Mm-hmm. And George again, I think the audio version with Peter Purvis narrating works really well. One of the best of the soundtrack only releases. I love that one. And we reviewed the Celestial Toymaker last year, and we had to go to the CD. I certainly went to the CD to finish off that. And it brings you into the story, doesn't it? It really does on that particular one. Today, however, there was more updates on this because let's go to X, shall we? Oh, yes, let's go to X. And this is from Mark himself, Mark Ayres. And he's actually commenting on the Radio Times tweet, X, which said, Doctor Who restoration expert defends experimental Celestial Toymaker animation and then, quote, I'm proud of it. And then Mark says, a non-story if ever there was one. Okay. I'm not quite sure what that meant, but he did get a fan coming back to him saying, no way to defend it. They're charging money for this and using the label experimental to cover up the fact it was cheaply done like Web of Fear's animation. Hopefully it gets a Power of the Daleks treatment in the future because this story deserves it. To which Mr. Ayres comes back and says, you've not seen it, I guess. I did not defend it. There is nothing to defend. I said I was proud of it. Yes, it was not cheap. Yes, it's a new process which suits the story. In what way will it need the Power of the Daleks treatment? So it was not cheap, and it's a new process which suits the story. Who decided that?
I'll defend it and sell my soul because I want another job in the future.
I don't know how they can't get likenesses of these people. You know, I mean, look at Daryl's work. We put on quite a lot. Beautiful stuff. People can capture the actors in this. Why can't these professionals get the images right and work with them and have likenesses of our favourite actors in these stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand it at all. Gobbert is saying to us, why is Mark Ayres talking like RTD? I got that feeling as well, mate, when I read that. And I had to read it a couple of times. And I've just read it out to you guys as well. And it still doesn't sit with me. But maybe he's spending a little bit too much time down there with Cardiff people.
Well, he's probably doing all the range of the coloured Doctor Who stories that are coming out in the near future. And he's doing all the soundtracks for them. So he can't rock the boat, can he? Allegedly.
Well, again, I was saying about that the other night, wasn't it? How many of us are going to buy those? Because they're not even for us now, are they? It's like these things here. I mean, you know, we were talking about this, saying all the coloured stuff, all the animated stuff, not for us as Doctor Who fans, the original Doctor Who fans. It's all for this new mythical, new generation audience that they want. Well, keep it, because you're not getting our money then. Do it properly or don't do it at all. Just stay home. How many pre-orders will now have been cancelled, asked Raymond. This nonsense costs them money. Well, I cancelled mine.
Yeah.
And the Daleks in colour. So I'm sure I can't be the only one, surely. TARDIS Travels is joining us. Hello, all. Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you. You've missed a fabulous show. Where have you been? You're gonna have to go back and watch it all. But yeah, we've got that. But it is bizarre. And what you're saying there as well, and what you guys in the chat is saying about, there are an awful lot of great talents out there, isn't there? And on the Tube of Who and in fandom and what have you, putting these things together. We have seen other alternatives to this story, which will never see the light of day if the BBC decides to clamp down on this and say, oi, we've got our own version now, knock it off, because they can. In effect, that's what they can do. They could really make life difficult for all these independents trying to give us what the fans want and succeeding, from what I can tell as well. But we've also got some great animation, and I'd like to say a huge thank you to my mate Paul Tams that sent us his version of the Celestial Toymaker. He was working on doing his own version of the cover for, you know, the what we think is the cover for the Blu-rays and the DVDs, and this is what he's come up with.
Wow.
That's brilliant. That's lovely. Sadly, if you put it on the cover, it would be trade description, wouldn't it? But it's very good. It's excellent. Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Lovely piece of work.
It's fantastic, isn't it? So well done, Paul, and thank you very much for letting me show the world that here on the show. Because you know, I just thought that captures Michael Gough brilliantly.
Just like you were saying, you can capture the images of the actors, and look at that. That's almost like a photograph. It's so good.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's working guys on the rest of the cover now. So he's got his own cover there.
Could he animate the 4 episodes as well? That'd be good if he could do that too.
I'm sure he'd love to, wouldn't he?
Get on to him, GT, quick as you can.
I love the shading and everything he's done. I think that's a beautiful piece of art. And don't forget that Paul did do some. Well, he was with us to talk about his Target book covers. He got one done, but the rest of them were never used. But I'd love to see that on a book, wouldn't you? That would be absolutely fantastic.
Gorgeous.
But would it show people up these days? Well, probably. Thanks very much on that as well. Lex is saying that's an amazing cover. TARDIS Travels is saying much better cover. Raymond is saying to us that's fantastic artwork. And Kirsty's saying that's insane, which is a good thing, Paul. Yeah. That's a good thing. She's down with the kids because she is a kid. You know, she loves all this language that confuses me.
That's a youth speaking there. Yes,
it's youth Be in it, mate. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
No, but that's what we've got there. Oh, Mark, says Raymond, is a good at his job, but he thinks he's now a celebrity and has the right to change other deceased people's work. That doesn't sit well with me. Do you not think, Raymond, that a lot of them now do? Because we're getting this an awful lot now, aren't we? And it's now started because they seem to think they're actually quite now powerful. They've got all this big stuff now. They've got the Hooniverse. It's all theirs. And you've got people like RTD and everybody going back saying, we're going to change all this now to suit our vision of what it is now. And we're going to make it for our new alleged minority audience.
What I'm worried about is, though, that these new things become the norm, so that you'll get a colorized version of the Daleks, and then the black and white one will be lost somewhere. You'll never see it again. It's a bit like when they have images of David Bradley instead of William Hartnell. It's like Hartnell's still the Doctor, not David Bradley or Richard Hundle. It's Hartnell. Okay, so don't use pictures of other people by mistake.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And George is saying, talking of Target books, just realised the Celestial Toymaker is one of the very few that has not had an audio book release. It must be coming at soon. It must be on the way. Maybe they had it slated and then they realised the Blu-ray was coming out and then they've had to put it back, because sometimes that does happen. But I can't see it not happening because they wanted that whole library out there. So I'm sure, George, at some point it's going to happen. Raymond is also saying to us, I cancelled both the Daleks in colour and the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah.
So did I. And Nathan, thank you. Brilliant art. BBC High Talent. What's the problem? 2D characters, 3D sets looks better. Yeah.
Can I ask something? You mentioned that this wasn't finished when it was shown. Why would they show an unfinished animation? That's a bizarre thing to do, don't you think?
It is. I mean, this is what Bedouin was telling us on the Visitation show. There is part of the animation for the Celestial Toymaker that comes up and basically says, oh, look, to be added, or we haven't quite finished this yet, basically. And it looks like they just ran out of time. You know, and
they're
instead of
not showing the workings like a crayon picture and just put it up like that. You know?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
I
was wondering whether or not, because it's not finished yet, maybe they were planning to do a screening later on in the year, which might clash with the arrival of Mr. Gatwa's first series, perhaps, and they want to keep that out of the way, possibly. I don't know.
I think Disney wanted some reshoots.
Redrawings.
We're calling Peter Purvis in to do some reshoots.
Oh, dear. Well, will this story ever end, Who viewers? Who knows? As ever, we're going to keep you up to date with anything more that breaks, especially around this animation. But that's what's been happening since our show on Monday with the radiotimes.com. And then today with Mr. Ayres himself making some tweets as well. So it's all go, isn't it? But just remember, there is still no release date for the Celestial Toymaker. You can pre-order it now from all the usual sources, but there's no date as to when it's actually going to be released because it's not finished. But there you go. One day it might be. Oh, it could be another Sharda. Oh no, I'm not. I shouldn't start saying that, should I? Timescales is saying, let's start that rumor. No such thing as running out of time, running out of budget. Yes. Yeah. Dalek, I love you, is saying, I have watched some amazing fan-made 3D animations, particularly ones with the Daleks, and they are done on computers at home. These people have no excuse at all. Again, Dalek, I love you. It's like Mr. Ez was saying here. They found this new technology, which they feel suits the Celestial Toymaker, and they've gone with it. Well, it's not strictly true, is it? Because they've used it before, and they're likely to use it again. It's just... I've
just had a horrible thought. We were talking about before, but I think you were talking in the chat on Monday about spending. I think someone mentioned about spending the money on something else, like redoing Invasion of Dinosaurs. I've just had a really horrible image of new dinosaurs looking like the image we've just seen from the Celestial Toy Room. That'd be awful.
It would be.
You know, that's
really
even worse movement. You know, trying to improve them but make them worse.
I was thinking about this as well, guys, after the show with Bedouin, you know, because that was brought up in the chat, wasn't it? And I was thinking, hang on a minute, they know that we want CGI dinosaurs as an alternative take on Invasion of the Dinosaurs, because it would look pretty horrifying today, wouldn't it, with CGI dinosaurs and what they could do now. Yeah. And they're cheap enough to do now. And the BBC have been doing it since Walking with Dinosaurs, don't forget, you know, which I think may have been around, did it preempt Jurassic Park? I'm not too sure. But anyway, getting back to the point, didn't they come out a couple of years ago saying we're not going to do that? It will stay as it is. Now, if they do that, I'll be quite miffed because I think we're all expecting a CGI alternative take as well. So if they do that and they ignore us and yet they bring out stuff like this, how many of us here are going to be quite annoyed? You know, hands up in the chat. I think we're all going to be a bit peeved, aren't we?
Yeah.
A massive missed opportunity.
Well, we have to have that and a properly colorized part 1 as well. Yeah.
But I mean, it is in some respects, Invasion of the Dinosaurs is like elements of the Jurassic Park films when they've got the dinosaurs in sort of like built up areas, which I think happened in the second one when they brought a T-Rex onto land. And it's Doctor Who preempting that by 30 plus years. You know, that's quite a thing. To not make it look as good as they possibly could would be absolutely criminal. But then I've just looked at, you know, Celestial Toymaker, and they're quite happy with doing criminal stuff, aren't they?
Well, George is making a very valid point here as well. A CGI makeover of Invasion of the Dinosaurs would be very costly. Think about the amount of screen time the dinosaurs have over the 6 episodes. I get that, but investing in the new technology to do something like the animations is also costly. And this is BBC Studios, you know, and we know now that they're not going to be doing all those big fancy trailers they've done, like the recent one with Lou for season 15, and they're going to cut that down a little bit. I think, George, if I may, I think if they've got common sense and they've got a budget, they can actually allocate the budgets properly to say, right, this is how much we've got for the entire Doctor Who range, including the collection box set, the animations, and whatever else they want to do. Let's see what we can do that. I reckon fans might just say, right, when they bring out season 11 with Invasion of the Dinosaurs, they would like to see a CGI version of the dinosaurs and maybe not so much as all the other stuff. There's ways and means, isn't there? You know, don't do behind the sofa because your actors have to be paid. Scrap that for that particular one. Don't do the documentary unless you can do it on the cheap, you know, or something. I don't know, George. I think there's ways and means. I really do. And Raymond's also saying to us, it started to creep in a Patrick Troughton story where they had a Sacha Dhawan master poster in the background. I hate that stuff. And now they're doing it with the music arrangements. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was really, really annoyed at that because not being invested in the Chibnall era, I don't want to see it in proper Doctor Who. Don't want to see it.
Even if you were invested in it, it's a really naff thing to do, isn't it? It's just tacky, and they think they're being clever with it all, don't they? But it's just nonsense, just absolute fan nonsense. I guess this says, Joseph, they didn't meet the deadline for the screening. Didn't the same happen with the first animated version of Power of the Daleks? Well, I can't remember. It probably did. You're probably right. Can you two remember? Yeah, I don't remember at all. No,
I can't remember that at all. It's too long ago now. I've slept.
I didn't mind when they took out the inadvertently filmed bus going by in the background of Dalek Invasion of Earth. I didn't mind that because I thought it was a small thing. It was an improvement. And I think if they'd had the means at the time in the 1960s when they filmed it, they would have done exactly the same thing. But if they'd put additional things in that weren't there, that would have been a different matter. But the level of tampering that they're doing now just shows an arrogance that they feel that they know better, and it's not what it's about.
It's like Bedweir. Sorry, it was like Bedweir was pointing out on Monday's show. These things were originally designed for those of us who have been collecting the DVDs to fill in the gaps on so we had a full collection of stories. They've deviated from that intention now, haven't they? In fact, I think the Moonbase and the Invasion are surely the last two greats we've had out of these animations because they are as absolutely faithful to the scripts as they can be. Whereas now it's all about this extra stuff. You know, and it's not going on our shelves because a lot of us, as we know now through this, are turning around saying, I don't want that. I don't want it. I'll certainly wait until it's practically nothing in the bargain bins, even if it's 2 years away, because I'm not going to invest in this because I'll probably never watch it. I'll just put the spine there where it's supposed to be, saying the Celestial Toymaker, you know?
Evil of the Daleks wasn't too bad. I didn't mind that. But the Macra Terror looked quite good, but that was a huge liberties taken with that, with the Macra and stuff like that, and chopping out bits of episodes they couldn't do. You know, it's like, if you can't do it, don't do it.
Yeah. We've got some great comments coming through here as well. Kirsty is saying to us, I was in a primary school, so talking early 2000s, with Walking with Dinosaurs. The first Jurassic was late 1990s. Thank you for that. There we go. But we were all surprised when the BBC came up with Walking with Dinosaurs. It really did change, you know, everybody's, because I think that's when we as Doctor Who fans went, we can do this now. We can do it properly. And I read somewhere just a couple of years ago that Walking with Dinosaurs today, with the effects that they had, is still extremely popular. And they could do it now and spend even more money on it to get even more textures and stuff into it. So again, it's down to budget. George is saying to us, it would be great if it happened, i.e. Invasion of the Dinosaurs CGI, but I think it would be a budget buster. A full colour restoration of episode 1 is achievable, though, and would be very miffed if that didn't happen. Yep, I get you with that one as well. And he's also saying he agrees with myself, but the money could be better spent elsewhere. Yeah, very probably. Very probably. I think there will be an uproar, George, though, if they don't spend the money on a CGI dinosaur. Whatever happens, though, it's still a fantastic story. You know, even with the dinosaurs of its day, and we all know the story to that, it's still a cracking story, so it's still going to look in Blu-ray. But Dalek, I love you, George, has the solution. He's saying use the dinosaurs from the Toy Story movie. It will save Disney money. That's a good point. And I didn't know this, and I haven't spotted this, so thank you to George for this. The Sharda animation had a car with the reg JW13.
Oh, God.
See, that's the stuff I don't like.
Yeah.
They think they can sneak these little things in to endorse things. I didn't know that, but thank you.
I think they did that with Cosgrove Hall with Invasion. They've got Bad Wolf written on Isabel's wall. I think, you know, the wall that she leaves notes on. I think they wrote Bad Wolf on it. I think.
To all these people putting these things together, you're not big and you're not clever. You knock it off and just give us the stories as near to as transmissional original element as you possibly can, because we just don't like it. And you want us to buy this, you know, it's getting to the point where we won't, and you'll all be out of a job. So do it properly. TARDIS Travels. I remember watching the Invasion of the Dinosaurs first time around, and I still thought it was good. It's cracking because there's a good story. That's all you need, isn't it, this day and age? It's a good story. It's what we certainly don't get today. Oh, editorial comment. Well, you know, that's that for you anyway. So there we go. That's the animations there, all from this week that's come out. If you've pre-ordered it, when it eventually hits your doormat and you watch it, let us know what you think about it. You can get in touch with us as ever at whosviews1@gmail.com. whosviews1@gmail.com. I know Kirsty's in the chat and she will put that in there for you. There it is there for you. It's whosviews1@gmail.com. And as ever, we've got loads coming up for you very soon. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, please do subscribe. You're very, very welcome. All views welcome. And don't forget to ring that bell so you get all the details of when we go live and when we drop lovely, lovely stuff. Simon, proper dinosaurs should have feathers. I remember that as well. Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you all for watching us. We're coming to the end of the show now. Thank you very much for watching it. I hope you've enjoyed. Oh, you have. On cue as ever. Timescales, a great show. Very much enjoying this. Brilliant. You can go back and watch it again right now because we're off to have a cup of tea. So thank you very much to the third Doctor, Ian and Paul, as ever, for joining me. And a huge thank you as well to Tony Jordan, the coordinator of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, for joining us at the very top of the show with all the update surrounding the changes, the modern changes to the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. Guys, thank you so much for that. I hope you've enjoyed the show.
Very much so. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both. And as ever, from all of us, we will see you next time, because don't forget, when they drop a headline, we'll be here to talk about it. We will see you next time on Who's Views. Take care, everyone, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.